The visa issue now has become more of an importance, essentially because the negotiation process has stalled. So both sides are looking to find new areas where they can continue to enrich the relationship. And the visa dimension is certainly one very visible element of the strategy. It's also very visible because it is also of concern to a large part of Turkish population. It has popular appeal. So from the Turkish policymaker side, it is certainly one area where they would like to accomplish a significant degree of progress. The stalemate today is due to the fact that in order to start fully this process, the EU requires Turkey to sign and ratify the readmission agreement. But Turkey conditions this to the EU's full commitment that this process will eventually lead to the removal of visas. And we are blocked here because the Commission is unable to get this type of mandate from the Council at this point. So an alternative that has been suggested, and I think at some point we can shift there, is to do this on a gradual basis. So, Turkey could sign the agreement, not ratify it, and in return ask for a number of facilitation measures. The EU can unilaterally, on its own, do a number of, or undertake a number of technical steps within the ambit of the visa code that would lower the visa fees, that would harmonize the process of issuing visas among the different consulates, and so on and so forth. So there's actually quite a bit of ground that can be covered, and so I think it's realistic to think that we can actually include the visa pillar in this framework of finding supplementary areas of progress in the Turkey-EU relationship. So along with the deepening of the customs union, foreign policy cooperation, visas. And the fourth element that I think would be essential going forward is to bring visibility to the Turkey-EU relationship. Today, that visibility is lacking because of the stalled nature of the negotiations. But there was for instance, just to recall, there was a conference on energy 2 years ago with the participation of both the Commissioner for Energy, the Commissioner for Enlargement, and there was another commissioner that I can't recall, along with Turkish Minister of Energy. That took place in Istanbul. There was a joint conference between Turkey and the EU on how to address common challenges to energy. And that was well received, well covered, and it really helped to build this expectation that we can jointly address these challenges. So I think another pillar of this renewed strategy can be to try to reciprocate these type of visible high-level events, and this is certainly something that can be done with the Commission being the guardian of this process. So do it on energy, do it on transport, do it on visas, do it on non-proliferation. There are a number of areas where we can reciprocate this type of visible high-impact events, and I think we are definitely in need of those type of more perhaps public relations type events in the Turkey-EU relationship. Certainly we live in a different country compared to 10 years ago. What happened in Turkey over the past 10 years are three things fundamentally. One is macroeconomic stabilization. So when we're talking 10 years ago about high chronic inflation, 60–70%, today we're in single digits. Fiscally Turkey is strong. The banking sector is strong, well capitalized. devoid of toxic assets. So a far different world than the Turkey of 10 years ago, and a far different world than many of the member states today. So that's one structural element. The second element is that with macroeconomic stabilization, Turkey's ability to attract foreign investments has also mushroomed. This was one of the expectations from the customs union that did not come about, essentially because Turkey was not a place which was very attractive for foreign investments as a result of its macroeconomic uncertainties. Now, once that obstacle was overcome, Turkey came out strongly as a FDI destination, reaching levels of almost 20 billion, of more than $20 billion in the record year that was 2007, before the global crisis. Now that has come down to about 8 billion FDI, so Turkey moved back in the global league. But nonetheless, it is still, very different from the 500 million or $1 billion FDI that Turkey used to get on a yearly basis in the 1990s. Here, the important thing to underline is that still 80% of FDI is of European origin. So, what that means is that even if politically the Turkey-EU relationship goes nowhere, that the negotiations remain stalled, the economic facts on the ground are such that the interdependency between the Turkish and the European economy, as I said, 80% investments are European origin, 45% of Turkish exports are to the EU markets, that this is going to remain a reality. So this talk about Turkey shifting away from the West is politically a rhetoric that does not have an economic counterpart. The Turkish economy is very well integrated today with the production structures. It is very well integrated with European markets. And just, the impact of the 2009 crisis is, I think, a testimony to that. It is because of the shock to European markets, to the drop of demand in European markets, that the Turkish economy contracted by 4.7% in 2009. That was, by and large, the most visible reason. The other reason was a credit crunch, which also affected Turkey, but really the drop in exports. So I think that's the second structural element, this growing interdependence due to the customs union, but that goes beyond that, due to basically an overhaul of the Turkish economic governance, which happened in 2001, after the crisis of 2001, leading to the situation. And the third factor is a diversification among the Turkish business community, the emergence of perhaps smaller scale actors, most of them in Anatolia, looking for trade and investment links in a hitherto in a region that did not attract Turkey's attention until now, which is Turkey's southern neighborhood, the Middle East. So the emergence of these actors have led to an economic policy with a bearing on foreign policy of opening towards those countries, which essentially aims to capture new economic opportunities, to open new markets for Turkish investments, to draw new investments from those countries to Turkey. Because these countries are seen as areas where Turkish small and medium-sized enterprises can actually compete, unlike the European market, where it requires a higher degree of technology, a higher degree of know-how, economies of scale, and so on. But these newer markets are markets where these Anatolian businessmen actually are successful in capturing some of the economic opportunities. And this reflects on Turkish foreign policy. I don't think that in my professional lifetime Turkey will become a member of the EU, but I'm increasingly tempted to think that the EU and Turkey will find a new framework for their relationship, as I've tried to outline, which is not going to be construed as this ill-fated privileged partnership, but essentially a framework that will allow Turkey to become almost a virtual member state, and having the ability also to protect its own legitimate interests. So a framework that's different than the current customs union framework, where Turkey has no say at the table. And I think that that's actually the direction that we're going to. We haven't really fully assessed the situation. I think it will take a little bit time on the European side, essentially, because today Europe is mired in its own problems, and it doesn't really have the energy and the political capital to invest in designing the sort of relationship with an emerging actor like Turkey. And this is going to be a first for the EU as well, because the current paradigm is a paradigm where the EU has a neighborhood policy which is devoid of its membership, of a membership component, and an enlargement policy which subsumes all countries under the same blueprint of the negotiations and treats them as candidate countries that have to take on and apply the EU acquis. So I think going forward, the EU and Turkey will design a new framework which falls in between those two paradigms of enlargement and neighborhood policy.